So whilst we are still on the never-ending theme that we in actual fact do not know anything, let's just continue, shall we? Now, I've mentioned to you guys that I'm going to be starting a carnivore diet, and so I'm watching a few videos, not to see how to do it, but to see what I have already made up my mind to do, what people are saying about that. And true to form, the vast majority of people on the internet are just copying rubbish what most other people have said, and it's very, very difficult to discern what truth anyone is saying. And I'm going to be showing you a video by a certain doctor, a dietitian, and he's saying that all of these things that we've learnt about, red meat and carbohydrates and proteins and this, that and the other, and fat and health, have all been wrong throughout many, many years. This is what I'm saying, people. There is no truth, and what we would discern the notion of truth to be is at the very, very least transitory, ever morphing into something else, just like fashions. So I've decided that I'm not going to be cutting out my 2 or 3 beers a day, because I really enjoy a couple of 440 cans of Guinness, which contain 150 calories, and a bottle of Newcastle Brown, which contains about 200. So if I drink a bottle of Newcastle Brown and 2 Guinness, which is the most I'll ever drink on one day, then I'm looking at like 350 calories, which is nothing. Basically, it's not worth even batting an eyelid about. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to be eating fish, I'm going to be eating sausage, bacon, and so I'm going to have a very exciting diet, because I'm going to have bacon and eggs, I'm going to have sausage and eggs, I'm going to have smoked mackerel and eggs, I'm going to have lamb chops with all the fat on them, I'm going to have whole chicken and part chicken, I'm going to eat packets of pate, I'm going to eat tins of salmon and tuna and mackerel and sardines, and so basically there's not much that I'm not really going to be eating in relation to meat, and you can eat as much of it as you like, and so that's perfect for me, because I do have a pretty ferocious appetite when meat's concerned, to say the least. And so I'm just going to be eating copious amounts of greasy lamb chops, then stuffing a few sausage in my mouth, and then later I'll have a whole tin of salmon, and oh goodness me, it's going to be wonderful. And I'm sure I'm going to be reaping lots of benefits from it, because I'm a bit tired, to be quite frank, people, of having this bloated feeling, you know, that some people get from wheat. And grains are the worst thing we can eat, apparently. And then what we don't want is any of the sugars. We don't want fructose, glucose, sucrose, or any of that shit. So I just put into Google what the carbs, how many grams of carbs in a pint of Guinness, thinking, well, I'm supposed to be on a no carb diet, or very, very low carb diet, but I'm not cutting out the Guinness, and so I will see by drinking the Guinness and the beer what gains I make on the you know, carnivore diet after 1 month. And I can't really see myself ever really giving up the beer, because it's such a joy, it's so beautiful, and just after a hard day working out or being outside or doing whatever you're doing, or even if I'm just in playing my music, just to crack a tinny of Guinness it's very pleasant. And so not going to be stopping that at any cost, but I just looked to see what the carb content of a pint of Guinness is, and then compared that to an apple. And again, people, All this nonsense about, oh, beer makes you fat and you're supposed to live healthy and eat your vegetables and your fruits and all that. Well, fruit apparently, from lots of nutritionists' perspective these days, are the last things we should be eating these days because of all the glucose, fructose and fucking all the rest of those toesies that sugar consists of. So have a look here and bring you in a little bit more, so you can see what we're dealing with here. And we've got here, a pint of Guinness contains approximately 14 grams of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates 14 grams, sugars 0, protein 1.8 grams, fat 0 grams, calories 167. So 167 in a pint of Guinness. The cans I drink are for 40ml, so less than a pint. Even 167 calories a pint, I'm not even going to bat an eyelid about that. So then go over to here and I go, a medium-sized apple contains approximately 25 grams of carbohydrates. 25 grams. Sugars, 19 grams almost. In calories, 94 grams. So in one apple you've got half as many calories, but you have twice as many grams of carbohydrate. And so we see what we're dealing with, people, when we're looking for truth and we're looking for consistency with anything that we've ever been told. Now, I'm listening to this character, and this guy here, he's called, let me just go back, minimize the screen, Ken D. Berry, medical doctor. And this video, Carnivore Diet, Facts for Beginners. 33 common questions, and what he's saying is that everything we've ever learnt about basically is a crock of shit. Listen to this.
Kidney stones. Number 8, isn't a high protein diet unsafe for my kidneys? People, this is a very common myth out there. Many doctors and dietitians will say, oh, that's too much meat, that's hard on your kidneys. Again, this is complete and utter, it's a lie, it's a big fat lie. There's no truth to this at all. And so, in fact, when people who have pre-existing chronic kidney disease, polycystic kidney disease, when they adopt a carnivore diet, their kidney function actually improves. Now, if all that red meat was bad for your kidneys, their kidney function would worsen. It wouldn't get better, right? And then when you go back to the research again, there's not a shred of research that eating lots of animal protein is in any way bad for your kidneys. Your kidneys are made of animal protein. They need you to eat animal protein to rebuild them. Animal protein is good for your kidneys. It's not bad for your kidneys. Number 9, aren't there studies showing that red meat increases the risk of colon cancer or some other cancer? No. Again, this is observational, epidemiological research that shows only a possible weak association. Ask your dietitian, ask your doctor if they say something like this. Well, can you show me the randomized control trial in humans that proves that? If they answer honestly, we'll have to say, well, there's no such research. So you're at your liberty. There is no proof that eating red meat increases your risk of colon cancer. This is a myth. This has never been proven, and I predict it never will be proven. Number 10, isn't eating lots of meat bad for the environment? So first of all, I'm a doctor, and this is a YouTube channel about health and nutrition. I'm not a climatologist, but I have been told by people who study climate science that red meat, cows grazing in pasture, is not actually what's destroying the environment. It's all the jet planes and all the cars and all the diesel trucks and all the factories. That's what's actually harming the environment, not cows and sheep grazing in the pasture. So if you came here for health and nutrition, you're at the right place. But if you want to learn about climate science, there are other great sources for that out there. I'm not a climatologist. Number 11.
And of course that's a complete can of worms, because it's all contrived, it's all fabricated, there's an agenda behind it, and you shouldn't believe a single goddamn word anyone say about climate change.
Isn't animal fat too calorie dense to eat in large quantities? In other words, won't eating fat make me fat? No, that's not how human physiology works. Eating sugar, which is turned into triglycerides and fatty acids, which are then stored as fat, that's how you get fat. Eating a diet rich in sucrose, glucose, fructose, this is what causes your body to store fat. Also, when you're eating a diet high in sugars, that raises your insulin level very high, which is a signal to your body to store fat. When you're eating a carnivore diet, your blood sugar comes back down to a very healthy level, and that allows your insulin level to come back down to a very healthy level. And that unlocks the fat stored on your body and allows your body to metabolize it and use it for energy and then get rid of it. Number 12, do I have to eat steak all the time? Because I see Sean Baker eating ribeye all the time. You eat a lot of steak, Dr. Berry. Is that what do I have to eat steak? No, you can eat any meat. And here's what you have to understand. The cheapest ground beef at your supermarket is healthier for you than the most expensive bread in the supermarket. The cheapest hot dogs and sausages and bologna are healthier for you to eat than the most expensive breakfast cereal in your grocery. Once you make that connection, oh, okay. So, of course, grass-fed, grass-finished is a little bit healthier. But if you're on a budget, the cheapest ground beef, the cheapest hot dogs, the cheapest bologna, the cheapest sausage is better for you than the most expensive plant-based foods in the supermarket. Once you understand that key concept, most of your other questions about carnivore just kind of fall in line. Number 13. Are there any condiments or spices allowed? For most people, yes. You can use any zero carb, zero sugar.
So, I mean, I would recommend that everybody watches that to blow all of these fallacies out of the water. And you could say to me, well, you say nothing's true, why you believe in him? Well, I mean, I don't have any real investment in any of them, but if someone says to me that things are false, then I am happier with people saying things are false than I am with people telling me things are true, because I've said to you for 16 years there is no truth. And I've never come upon truth in my whole life, and so if anyone tells me this is true and this is truth, well, I'll just go in the opposite direction. And so for someone to say to me that all of this stuff, all this myths and fallacies and so-called the data which has been compiled, it's all propaganda in my experience. They've always been doing this propaganda. They tell you that milk is terrible for you with all the pus in this, and they tell you that eggs used to be really bad for you, and then they tell you that red meat hardens the arteries, it's going to kill you, and then they tell you that fruit is wonderful for you, when it turns out the vast majority of people are in agreement today that fruit is the worst fucking thing that you can be eating. Why? Because of all those toses in it, fructose, sucrose and glucose, and you don't want to be eating sugar because sugar fucks you up. Your body creates its own sugar. Your body turns everything into the sugar that it needs, which is glucose. And then they say, well, what about if you're not eating any fibre, won't you be constipated? Or, well, no, because your body is digesting this meat easier than it can fibre. I mean, they're saying about fibre, wheat and things like that, it doesn't even get digested. It just goes straight through your fucking system, mostly. And they say that, this is what cleans your gut out and your colon out and this, that and the other. But what they're saying with the carnivore diet is you'll have diarrhea probably for the first week or two. I just watched a 15-minute video from Joe Rogan speaking about it, because he did it for 30 days, and he said he felt fantastic. He had violent shits for the first 2 weeks, but after that his body settled down. He felt fucking brilliant. He lost 4 kilos. 12 pounds. He lost 12 pounds, and in 1 month, 12 pounds in 1 month. You get 2.2 pounds to the kilo. So 2, 4, 6, 8, let's say 10 pounds is 5 kilos. He lost 5 fucking kilos. Wow, I've only lost 2 kilos in about 2 months of cutting out chocolate and crisps and sweets and cakes and cheese and most of the bread, that sort of thing. It's made very, very little difference, and so I'm very much looking forward to starting on this diet. And I decided before even I started to listen to this stuff, what I'm going to do. And I'm still going to do exactly that. And I've been watching video after video after video, and I'm saying, well, look, talk to me about sausage. Sausage is fucking meat. Why can't you eat sausage? Talk to me about fucking bacon and all the fat and that. Talk to me about lamb chops, dripping in fat and collagen and all the rest of it, right? Talk to me about that. And then eventually you'll get a few words said, well, you know, lamb chops is the most nutritious meat that you can eat, and all the benefits of lamb. And then this guy's talking about the processed foods. You can eat all these processed foods. Okay, so they're cheap and they've not got the best cut. And they've got maybe some, you know, bits and bobs in them. The worst thing about these things is what you don't want, of course, is you don't want anything with wheat in it. You don't want the bulk of wheat used, which most companies, they'll fucking stuff some wheat in somewhere. So you've got to read the back of the packet to make sure your bologna isn't stuffed with wheat. But if it's just all the offcuts of cocks and arseholes and ears and eyeballs and brains from the slaughterhouse, well, what the fuck? It's all meat, isn't it? And if it's all dyed pink and looks the same, well, you never know whether it's a cock, pussy or an arsehole, will you? So yeah, this is where I'm at, people. So I'm going to be eating copious amounts of fatty foods because I love fat. I love the fat on pork. I love the fat on lamb. I love the fat on bacon. I love the fattiness of sausages, even though these days with quality sausage, they pretty well feel like the whole meat. You don't get bouncing on nasty, horrible gristle and shit these days. Companies just don't exist if they do that, you know, like they did in the old days. And so yeah, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to show you my meals, every meal I'm making, until I've made all of the meals, whatever I'm going to be cooking, all the different meats. I'll show you how much I'm eating in any one day and what my level of satiation is. And the thing is about me now is that I'm always feeling hungry, and I can always just keep eating more and more and more, because when you eat you know, rubbish, or bread, or, you know, I don't know, some soup or some fucking thing, it just never really seems to cut it. But with me, meat satiates it, because I need that fat. I need that satiation of that cholesterol, you know, and I'm pretty sure that I will be very satiated. And that's what they say, you are satiated for easier and longer. And it doesn't matter how much you eat, because the more you eat, the more your body is under the stress to burn up air, digest the food, and it burns up more energy. So, well, you know, I'm just going to see what's going to happen, and see what happens to me, what my truth is. Loosely speaking, see what happens to my body, and if I feel energized, and if I feel brighter, and if I feel stronger, and if I put on more muscle mass and I lose the adipose, well, looks like I've discovered the secret of perfection, and I know that I could always go back to that diet to really trim down. So go a month on it, 2 months, 3 months. Some people say you got to stay on it for 3 months to get real benefits, but lots of people say 1 month and they saw loads of fucking benefits. So I don't think it's going to be difficult for me just to eat meat. But then I don't consider why there should be any big deal where one day I'm just going to eat fucking carbs. You know, I will have a plate of vegetables or a stir fry with all different sorts of vegetables in it and stuff like that. And if I feel like eating a bunch of grapes, then I fucking will. You know, I'm not going to be anal about this shit. I think we should got to get things in perspective. But if most of your diet is meat with the odd carb thrown in here and there, well, what of it? What of it? Really? What of it? And if you know, you want to eat an apple or a pear or a bunch of grapes, and it's like you know, 500 calories, and it's all coming from sucrose, then how often do you eat a bunch of grapes? Just once in a while, isn't it? And so I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be very strict for the month, and then I'm going to see what happens, and I'm going to start playing around with different stuff. So yeah, it's good to watch videos like this, talking about all the bullshit that people have spoken about, that the governments have told us, and nutritionist specialists have told us, and what's been on the front pages of the fucking tabloids, all the propaganda that we shouldn't be doing this and we shouldn't be doing that, and we must be doing this and we must be doing that, and you must be eating a high fibre diet. And then they show us these cereals, which are absolutely terrible for us. These wheat cereals, full with fucking sugar. Absolutely the worst thing you could ever fucking eat. And yet they're promoting them, that we're all slim and wonderful, like Special K and shredded wheat and all these different sorts of stuff, you know. Just lying cunts from beginning to the end. So anyway, I think this is going to be an interesting series. Alongside my therapy and my singing practice. Some people, in actual fact, it's curious because a whole bunch more people tuned into the singing lesson video than I would have expected. I would have expected, 20 people to have a little bit of interest, but it seems that many more people have an interest in that. And even though you don't have an interest in singing, but people like to see, the progress and the stars in your eyes sort of thing. And most certainly I'm going to be making a lot of progress, and then you'll be able to see it in my actual songs that I'm putting up. And then you maybe one day you put a comment down, which you never ever ever do normally, do you? It's kind of like my songs are the worst music anyone could ever fucking listen to, but they're not. They're really quite fucking reasonable. And if you go onto YouTube and you see other people singing the same songs, you'll see some that are great out there for sure, but you'll see a lot that are fucking terrible. And yeah, enough said on that, people.